Hey everybody, welcome back to the Comics and Cinema Club. My name's Drew,
And I'm Matt.
and today we're going to be talking about Madam Web, a movie we watched recently right after Morbius. And I think the best thing to say about Madam Web right off the bat is, well, it's bad.
Mhm.
Thank you everybody. That's all the time we got for today. Hope you guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Roll the outro. Roll the outro.
You get back here. Get back
Damn,
here. We watched the movie. We're going to give these people a full episode, and you know we have to.
I don't want to talk about it. This movie was bad. This movie this movie makes Morbius look like the Godfather. That's how bad
This,
it is.
this makes the Venom movies combined look like Lawrence of Arabia.
They really do. They make them look much better films than they're supposed to be. And we are gonna get into it. This movie just like Matt fell out of his chair at one point while we were watching this movie.
I
So
was literally on the damn floor just laughing my ass off because I could not take a single bit of this movie with any form of seriousness. Like, even when it was trying its damnedest to be taken seriously, it's just like, no, this is the room of superhero films. Honest to God, I feel safe in saying that. And I've seen
yeah.
some bad superhero films. I've watched Howard the Duck, Fan Four Stick, Superman 4, Supergirl. I've seen them all. This is one of the worst.
Yeah, I think that the positive thing that those movies have is at least they have some charm. At least they have somewhat of a story they're trying to tell, even if they suck, even if they hit the ground and plummet and explode. This movie started off on fire and just never put itself out and kept going until it just exploded.
I will say it does have a bit more charm than Fan Four Stick because that movie is basically nothing. But
I
uh,
really don't know about that. I'm being
I
dead
will
serious.
say
This
that.
movie
I
had
will
no
say
charm
that.
at all. And
It's
I
not like
none of the character I didn't like any of the characters. None of the characters
uh,
appealed to me. None of the characters were interesting. None of the characters were fun. Like even people joking about Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney was not good in this movie. Nobody was good in this film. All the characters were lifeless and bland and emotionless and stupid. And let's just start off with that about the stupid ass characters in this movie.
you literally have a superhero who kidnaps three random women from a train, like the children, mind you, leaves them in the middle of a New Jersey woods somehow in a taxi that she stole and manages to keep across a period of several days. She leaves them alone in the woods, expects them to stay there with the only food they have being jerky, and then gets surprised when they don't stay there and like end up dancing on a table, which is really weird because they're teenagers. And it's like, come on, everything about Cassandra Webb herself is unbearably unbearable. It's just a way to put it. Unbearably unbearable. If this was a bear, he wouldn't want to be left alone in the woods with her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me is it's like this. Cassandra Webb, Dakota Johnson, her character is not good. I don't know if it's her acting. I don't know if it's how she was written. She's such a bland and lifeless character who you can't relate to in any way. Every single bit about her. She's either, they're trying to play her as being awkward, but also likable, but then she's also just kind of a jerk and a dick half the time. And then she makes really stupid decisions, and then they force bonding with her and these three other girls who have as much personality and as much likability and character growth to them as a wet plastic bag floating in the middle of the ocean before drowning itself. That metaphor didn't make sense. But this movie didn't
I think
make
in this
sense.
movie didn't make
Yeah.
sense, so it fits.
So it's just like they had no, and I'm not saying that from like, oh, they needed to smile more. I just mean that in the sense that like there was nothing likable about these characters. There was no character growth at all. There was no reason to like them. There's a whole scene where they literally exposit dump their whole fucking backstory. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're best buddies now. And then Dakota Johnson shows them how to do CPR, and they learn something from her. She becomes a teacher to them, and oh, now she's gone through character development and everything, and it's so fucking stupid.
I could not even begin to tell you any of the girls' names. Like I only know their names because I am familiar with the source material. I know Maddie Franklin, I know Anya Corazon, and I know Julia Carpenter.
I thought you forgot
Uh,
her name for
they,
a second.
I know it, they gave her a weird other name, like Julie something, but I know who Julia Carpenter is. I know these characters, but I couldn't even begin to tell you in the actual movie, which one is which. The only thing that I remember about them is the fact that they were dressed like different Marvel characters. The one that I think is Maddie is dressed like America Chavez. The one, yeah, because Sweeney was Carpenter, I think.
Yeah, and
I
then
had to
Anna
think about
Corazon.
that.
Yeah.
Think about that. And Anya is like dressed like Rogue, and Sydney Sweeney literally looks like any other Mary Jane Watson. She literally looks like she's dressed like she's trying to be Mary Jane from the Sam Raimi movies. Honest to God. And it's like, well, who if you're going to have these characters, how about you give them memorable personalities and like identities that can stand out against each other because they're so freaking bland and lifeless. And again, it's not like we're saying they should smile more. They smile plenty of times in the movie. They do fun things, but they don't leave that much of an actual impression because we don't know them. We know their stats, their backstories, any of their powers, but we don't know them,
We don't
you
even know
know?
their powers. That's the
No.
thing. That's the biggest thing about this movie too. This movie made a big point. Let's get into the villain real quick, because the villain was another big bland
Oh my
pile of
God.
wet paper. First of all, the ADR was fucking awful. For
You
some
didn't even
reason,
see his chin move half the time.
yeah, for some reason they were like, we don't like this guy's voice, so let's ADR it the entire time. So you either don't see his face, or when you do, like it looks really weird when he's trying to talk, and the dialogue did not match his face at all or what he was trying to say. And then
And
his whole motivation was, I'm gonna die in the future, so I must kill these Spider Women before they become who they're supposed to be. And it's like, okay, what do you do to them that invokes them to kill you?
that's just it. One often meets his destiny on the road to avoid it. That's what I keep saying. He's literally forcing his own destiny here. And again, why the hell did they use Ezekiel Sims? Like, I know who Ezekiel Sims is. I know he's tied to Silk. I know his whole motivation and backstory. This is not that. You know who this could have been? Moreland. This could have easily been Moreland with the way he dresses with this actor. I could easily see this as being another version of Moreland from the Spider Verse or whatever, one of the inheritors. And I could see him wanting to take out as many spider people as possible. That would make sense. Ezekiel Sims, what reason does he have to be evil in this movie? Like, literally, it opens. The opening scene is literally Cassandra Webb's mom, while pregnant with her, being shot by him in the stomach, and it's like, I need the spider. I need the spider to live. And it's like, why? Where did this come from? What is this? What do you want in this movie? Do you want to take over the world? Do you want to save yourself, your powers? I think he had two different motivations in between that. In the first moment, it seemed like he didn't have the same motivation that he does throughout the rest of the film. And that's not okay. A villain's motivation should be clear and consistent. Like, what's the motivation for Killmonger? He wants liberation. What is it? And conquest, of course. What's the motivation for Thanos? Universe, Malthusian politics. How about or Magneto? He wants mutant power, and domination, and social vengeance, and whatever. And this guy, I couldn't even begin to tell you what he actually wanted, other than this lame ass Terminator stuff. And it's like, okay, you're forcing your own destiny here, pal.
Yeah. The only like even somebody like Heath Ledger's Joker, who is meant to be about I just want chaos, I just want to see the world burn, which really doesn't have any like goal or specific purpose, has more of a goal and a purpose that's defined than this guy. He literally was just running around the whole movie trying to kill three girls for reasons that never really get explained. His whole backstory doesn't get explained. There were moments in the movie where he's like, I didn't crawl my way up from where I lived and from what I did to be in this moment. And it's like, okay, what was your life like before this? Who were you before this? And touching on what Matt said, for those who don't know, because I don't know how many people are super into comics and stuff. So Ezekiel Sims in the comic is actually a really minor character who is literally just a guy who helps Silk, another spider character. And then Morlun is basically an energy vampire who hunts like spider totems. He's actually a really interesting villain who's a part of like a whole race of energy vampires called like inheritors who are really interesting characters. And he would have made way more sense trying to like prevent a spider character from existing or trying to get them when the totems are, you know, fresh or young, so that way he can have more of a feast, if that makes sense. Then Ezekiel Sims just being like, I have to kill these women for no reason whatsoever. It just was so dumb.
Everything in this film is dumb, and I think that ultimately ties to what really kills this film: the editing.
Yeah.
Every single shot is edited like it's on a freaking roller coaster. That a monkey is doing this with on a roller coaster upside down with his feet hands. It's like there is very little that makes actual sense in here, and I don't know what they were thinking, but they left way too much on the cutting room floor. And a lot of that could have been really important. Like maybe they went into the backstories of the Spider Girls and their home lives. Maybe they actually showed and not told. Maybe they actually showed Ezekiel Sims and his history and his backstory there. Maybe they actually went into stuff. But again, they just left it all behind in favor of just cutting randomly all over the place, having extremely weird camera angles and just extremely forced dialogue. I really don't understand what the editing process was like. I'd love to be like a fly on the wall just to see what that editing process was like, because like I couldn't even begin to tell you
There was
any of that.
one scene that took us both out. That I think that was what that maybe this was the scene when you fell on the floor, was when so Ezekiel was working with this hacker girl, this very generic character who doesn't get anything, doesn't get explained at all. Oh, there were two scenes. I gotta talk about that scene.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
basically, how they're he like has a way to track the Spider Girls through like digital imaging and everything, and he has visions of the future of what they look like. This is 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, for whatever reason, all of a sudden they're like, okay, this is what the Spider Woman looked like in the future, and they pull up literal images of what they that were like still footage that they just got from like another part in the movie and just slapped it onto like these 2003 era computers, and it's just like, this is what they look like now. And it's like, there is no fucking way we have that technology in 2003.
You pulled that from your head. Like you literally are trying to describe girls that you see in your dreams from your head. We don't even. It doesn't even look good if we put that through like an AI filter that we have now. You know, I don't. I can't even begin to imagine how he got that kind of focus, those pictures from his head. Uh, I can't even begin to describe it. And not to mention that scene where he's like freaking dreaming about those Spider Girls. Those are like that's like one of the two scenes where they actually have like costumes and are doing cool superhero shit. The other time they're just running around and setting things on fire. They don't fight. I don't think any of them throw a punch in this scene in this movie.
And they
There's like no
never,
fighting and or even like any superhero costumes.
yeah.
I genuinely don't understand that.
And they never dive into what their powers are. We see like Sydney Sweeney's character, Julia Carpenter has like weird energy webs. Matty Franklin has like iron spider arms. Ariana Corazon has like Green Goblin throwing things that she uses, but they never like really dive into what they're different at. Like, is one all about science? Is one all about tech? Is one like mystical, magical stuff? They don't have any real development. The only development that really happens is with my bad, Cassandra Webb. And even her development is like really bland. She just sort of stumbles into her powers, and then she all of a sudden can like be in multiple places at once, and is Doctor Stranging all over the place because she takes a side quest to fucking Amazon rainforest for no goddamn reason, where she meets a guy who wears discount Spider-Man costume.
It literally takes like a whole day just to get to the Amazon rainforest from LaGuardia. I can't imagine that they. Why are you wasting all of this time? Like all of this precious time when Zims is hunting down the girls. Why are you wasting all this time and energy just to get to a place something that's on the other side of our hemisphere?
Yeah.
And I, I I don't understand the thought process of all these characters here. Like you have all of your mother's research in that chest there. How about you look through that and maybe you can get something there? You don't have to go to this stupid water cave from Age of Ultron, and that just happened to be in the Amazon and not in Eastern Europe this time. It's like, what is the point of this? And this guy, by the way, he fucking promised Cassandra's mom that he would take care of her, and she just ended up in the foster system her entire life. Where the fuck were you, pal? Why doesn't she just grow up in the Amazon and actually be like a spider person, huh? Huh? What?
That
Hello?
would have been a
Where's your
much better
logic here?
movie. That would have
It
been
would
a
have been.
much better movie.
Like imagine like an inheritor hunting down Cassandra through the jungle, and then she has to, uh, I don't know, do some. go outside of that. I don't know. Maybe it could just be like the first few minutes of Paddington, where we just spend it all in the jungle. I would like that. I would love that. I like jungle films.
Tarzan. It could have been like Tarzan. It could have been like a gender reverse Tarzan almost. That would
Kind
have been
of.
cool.
I don't know. I don't know. And
Or
it's
like
again,
Kazar. She could have been like, or whatever.
Shauna the She Devil.
My bad. Shauna the She Devil. Yeah, something like that. I honestly was like, is this going like Kazar or Shauna the She Devil sort of direction when I watched that?
Give us that Disney Plus show, Disney. Come
Much
on.
more
Anyway,
prefer that. The other thing about Ezekiel Sims that just took me completely out of the movie is when you first like see him after like it's years later. Also, the way they did the fucking titles on this was so confusing. They went to like a black screen and they had like these really fancy graphics and went like 1973, the Amazon rainforest, and it was like you could have just done this over the scene. And then they had like 2003, New York City, and it's like you could have done this over the scene. Why did we need this?
you literally cut to black in like the most random moments too. This is the part. This is the editing problem that I was talking about. This is like, what is that? And not to mention, fucking Sims teleports everywhere. All of his movements don't feel like a spider person doing it. It feels like Nightcrawler doing it. Although technically Nightcrawler is a Spider-Man now, so
That is true.
that might be a thing. But nonetheless, it literally moves like he's moving like he's teleporting, like a glitchy video game character. Honestly, like that's not how Spider-Man moves. And why aren't you showing him doing cool acrobatic stunts like that? And he just crawls so weirdly too, like on a train or on a car. He's literally just crouched weird, and his suit looks like a freaking Toby knockoff. And it's like, I don't understand what they're doing
It was
here.
actually really funny because the first time you see him crawling, they're like, it's that guy. And he's just like, coming at him, like, ooh. And it looks really goofy and weird. And then he just randomly, like Matt was like, he teleports everywhere. And then he randomly has like a gun and he randomly has a fucking grenade at one point that just comes out of nowhere. And the other thing that got me about him that basically he goes to the opera and he sits down and he randomly picks up this woman and then they're back in his apartment and they had sex and he has this power where like if he touches somebody he poisons them, which never happens or really gets explained except with Cassandra, who somehow manages to beat it with for reasons that never get truly explained beyond the fact that I don't know, she has spider powers or something.
She's the main character.
That too. But the other thing is that he has the vision of the Spider Woman and then he's talking to the lady in the bed and it's like, I have to find a way. And this is how he sounded in the movie with a fucking ADR. I have to find a way to stop them. I have to find a way to prevent that future from happening. And then he basically says to the woman, that's why I need your help. I know you work for the NSA, and the NSA has technology that would allow me to track their faces. And it's like, where the fuck did this come from?
And not to mention, he touches her and then she's instantly like, what are you poisoning me with? And I'm like, where did that come from? It's like, how did you
she know she was being poisoned?
And furthermore, why wasn't she being poisoned when they did it? Okay, I am asking that genuinely. How does that work? Is it just his hands? Okay, I guess he's a very hands-off sort of person, but I don't want to think about that. But nonetheless, it's like,
is he just doing it with his feet then?
I don't know. I don't know how that works. Is it like a voluntary thing or is it involuntary? And how did that lady know she was being poisoned? He just grabbed her wrist. Does he have like stingers in his fingers that he retracts and protracts when he needs to? It's like, what are the rules with these powers here?
She didn't even
For a film franchise that goes so much into detail about powers and weaknesses, as we saw in Venom and Morbius, his powers really aren't that well defined here.
No, he's just a knockoff Spider-Man with poison abilities, and that's kind of it. And then, like Matt was saying, the editing in some scenes was really hard to watch because for Cassandra Webb, they really wanted to show that, like, guy, she can see the future, she knows the future. But the way that they did it was just really confusing because they wouldn't do like the scene just sort of played the same way and then it reverted back to the same scene. And they were like, okay, she just saw the future. And it's like, you didn't do anything different with that scene. It wasn't black and white. It wasn't like fuzzy around the edges. There wasn't anything different to imply that. I'm not saying like you need that, but I get that they were trying to be like, oh, we have to, fool the audience. You can fool the audience so much, but when you're fooling the audience to the point where the audience is getting a headache or getting really confused by the repetitiveness, That's not fooling the audience. It's just being a bore and annoying.
Time travel.
Exactly.
Get used to hearing that phrase, because I swear I was saying it every few seconds because of how they were trying to establish all of the freaking see the future stuff. Time travel.
Yeah.
And not to mention, this idiot saw the future with this one person who was driving off in an ambulance, and she didn't even do anything to stop him. Like he got hit by a truck, and she just let it happen. It's like, that's our hero, that's our protagonist. She didn't even think to say anything. And not to mention that stupid bird. She was able to help out that CGI pigeon that flew in her apartment.
There's a scene with a CGI pigeon, and it was the best CGI I had seen in that movie. It was beautiful. That was the only good CGI. It looked so good, and it was like, this is where the entire budget went. Just this one fucking pigeon. This was like the first scene they shot, and they're like, all right, how much more money do you have for the CGI? We got nothing? Fuck it, we'll use it all on the pigeon. And then that was it.
It literally makes the cat from Captain Marvel look like a Spider-Man 2 PS5 character.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there was a reason for that too, because Brie Larson was apparently allergic to cats, but still. The other thing too is that poor man who died in the ambulance, Alan O'Neill. How dare he died because he's apparently a real life comic book character who is apparently in the Spider-Man comics, like a cop or something. It was the most random thing that we found out about the movie. I was just watching it. I was like, Alan O'Neill. And Matt said, are there any comic book characters named O'Neill? And it's like, I don't know. So I Googled Alan O'Neill, and it popped up. And you can look this up. I shit you not. Look up. I'm going to do it too right now.
Alan O'Neill.
Alan O'Neill.
I think I looked at the Wikipedia. I think he's just credited as O'Neill. But come on, it's an obvious reference. It's like somebody being named Stacy. It's like, that's obviously George. Come on. Why didn't we have a cameo by him in this, honestly? It feels like it'd be fitting.
Yeah, if you look up Alan O'Neill, do Marvel Alan O'Neill, he literally shows up. He was an NYPD officer who believed Spider-Man was good. He's a real life character. They made him a cop. And
maybe he's tied to April O'Neil.
Oh, maybe. Maybe. I mean,
no, they're DC actually. Never
well,
well, they're not DC. They're complicated.
Look, I'm all for this tangent because it's talking about something much better than this piece of shit film. Little tangent real quick. This same ooze that creates the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it is canon, is the same ooze that blinds Matt Murdock Daredevil and gives him his senses. So technically, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Daredevil are brothers.
Even though they also crossed over with Batman and all of Arkham Asylum multiple times. But
they're all brothers. They're all related. Batman, Daredevil, Nightwing, Robin, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Anyway,
this was during that amalgam period that Marvel and DC had back in the 90s.
I think it was literally just some random panel they did. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Anyway, back to the piece of shit film.
Yes.
Basically, yeah, that was something really stupid. And again, I just find it really funny that like O'Neill, and I looked it up, and there literally is a character named O'Neill. But his character was really stupid too. It was literally just introduced to die and to show that she can see the future. And then we haven't even talked about the biggest disappointment in this movie.
Which one's that?
Uncle Ben.
Oh yeah,
Peter Parker, who does not show up at all.
They literally imply his name so many times. We know who you're freaking talking about. Why are you here if you're not the plot? The plot for a while was rumored that Peter Parker was just about to be born, and that the bad guy wanted to hunt him down and like kill him, before he becomes Spider-Man. That makes sense. It's a Terminator plot. That would be interesting to see. What we got instead was what we got. But honest to God, I feel like if they went that other route, it would be more interesting, and it would give Ben and Mary. I get their
Mary Parker
names confused. Peter's parents are named Richard and Mary. His aunt and uncle Ben are Ben and May. And that sometimes get
show up in this.
No, she doesn't. And neither does Richard. Yeah. So it's like, if this is the same universe as Venom and all that, Venom would probably be geriatric by the time he actually fights his Peter Parker. And by the way, just confirmed, Venom 3 The Last Dance is the last one. It
Yeah,
is
that's
the
what I
last
figured.
Venom.
That's what I figured. The one thing I will say, so about that whole Terminator plot that they should have gone with, I feel like that would have been the better choice because A, you could have actually done some interesting stuff with Uncle Ben, as weird as it sounds, and like Aunt May and Peter's parents. But the other thing you can do too, you don't make it a freaking Madam Web movie. You make it something else. I don't know if it's like a Spider-Man film or something along those lines, or like a Web of Destiny film or something. But you could have easily had it focus on a Spider Woman, one of them, or some Spider Person being sent to the past to protect Peter Parker. Because you know what that would have meant? It would have meant that they are trying to protect their legacy and his legacy. And it would have been much more influential and impactful and meaningful to say his legacy is the most important out of all of us. Our legacy, my legacy as a Spider Woman or a Spider Person, is just as important. But he's what starts it all. Without him,
Mhm.
none of this could happen. And it just feels like the movie, like, it goes back to Sony wanting to make a Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man. And they go to the point where we're not going to mention his name, guys. We're not going to say anything, and we're going to have these spider people exist even before he does, which isn't to say it couldn't happen. I'm just saying because Madam Web is old as shit in the comics. So,
I think
but
all of no, Anya and Maddie are younger. I think Julie Carpenter is older.
yeah, I think she's a
And
little older. But I mean, again,
yeah,
it goes back to being like Spider-Man is the first, and then they
mhm.
all came after. I'm not saying that like you can't do someone getting powers before, but it just goes back to Spider-Man's legacy and honoring that. And it feels like they didn't do any of that. They didn't even honor Spider-Woman in this movie. They just were kind of there. And
And
Uncle Ben was a paramedic, which actually does make sense, but they just didn't really add anything to the plot. They were just there.
like, what a waste of Adam Scott. And I really like Adam Scott.
Yeah.
If you want to make him Uncle Ben, I guess I could see it, especially since he's kind of like Peter in a lot of ways. He's kind of like an
Yeah.
older Peter. He's a bit dorky, he's nerdy, but he's able to come across as tough when he needs to. Uh, in specific scenes, like he was great in Parks and Rec. So again, a good actor.
Mhm.
What a waste, though.
Yeah.
And I feel like he really didn't need to be in this movie at all, other than to imply that he and Sandra used to do it. And I'm like, okay. And I guess that was what the point of that Chinese scene was.
I
That
think I
scene where they having the
spaced out
Chinese food.
whenever they meant. I think I don't remember them implying that at all. But okay, I if they did, they did. I think I erased that from my brain. I just remember there was a Chinese scene where there were like 16 Chinese boxes sitting around. I'm like, why do you have so much Chinese?
I guess it's for everybody in the building. But again, I think that was to imply that they used to be a couple and that he was talking about May now. And I'm like, okay, why are we talking about this right now? Why? What purpose does this serve here?
He didn't even
And
see May. She wasn't even in the movie.
no, she wasn't. So, what purpose again does he serve in this? Like, if this movie again was about protecting Peter and his family and uh, Peter's birth, that would make sense. That would be fun to see. But instead, we got to waste our time with all this.
Yeah.
And I sometimes there are moments when the first draft of a film is way more interesting than the third draft. So at this
Exactly.
point, we really should just consider doing that. And also, one more thing about Ezekiel: where the hell does he get his technology? He had a grenade at a certain point, and I'm just like, where did you? We were both like, where did you get that? Where did that come from? Is that NSA tech stuff too? Okay. I'm like, I don't understand you.
And he had enough money to afford like a lady who could hack stuff into him. He could afford to like get into the opera. Like, what was his whole backstory? Did he like create Ezekiel tech or Sims technology or something? Like, what was the whole thing there? Is he like just some rich fucking billionaire crime lord? Again, they never dived into it at all. Is he like the
Is he the
Wilson
creator?
Fisk
Is he
kingpin
the
of this movie?
creator of? Is he the creator of the Sims game? Because that would make sense.
Oh my god, if
That
they'd
was
done that, that would have saved the movie for me.
that would have saved the movie for me. It would have explained his wealth a whole lot easier. Like, hey, you made one of the most popular games ever, and just based on your last name.
That would have
uh,
been amazing. They should have done that.
and
I'm actually mad they didn't.
what is where does he keep his suit all the time too? Like at one point he's in his normal civilian clothes on a train just stalking them and moving weirdly. And then next time we see him he's head to toe in this fake ass Toby suit and it's like, okay, where did this come from? And what is this villain? What is why do we even need a villain in this? How about we just do what Deadpool did and just have some random happenstances make up the sort of villain, you know? Like, like sure, Deadpool 2 had Juggernaut, but why don't we just do that? How about we have like Rhino or something? I don't know.
Yeah, they should have put more focus on the characters. If they had put more focus on the development of Maddie and Ariana and Julia and Cassandra and showed their relationship beyond fucking CPR bonding them together and actually show their personalities and actually show them be interesting characters, it would have made for a much more interesting and better film. But instead, it just they also made a point at like the start of the movie. All three of these women somehow are jammed into her life. She almost runs Maddie over. She saves the mom or the stepmom or whatever it was of Julia, and then she lives in the same building as Arna. And if I keep
Anya.
mispronouncing Anya, yeah, my bad. Um, but basically, it just does a crap job of like explaining it and really diving in and exploring each of their character. That should have been the focus, not freaking Cassandra Webb. She was literally the least interesting character in that movie.
And like, why are there so many spider people at the same time? Like, I know this sounds weird, especially since 616 has a whole lot of spider people currently. Like, they have their own whole team. This is a similar problem to 616 and the Spider-Man 2017 cartoon. But why are there so many spider people in one point? Like, having too many Spidey people just makes Spider-Man, or Spider-Woman or whoever feel less unique. Like it just feels like he's one in a million of spider people when he should just be one in a million of superheroes. You know, like Spider-Man, I feel like should be unique. I have nothing against Peter and Miles being in the same place at the same time again, but again, New York is a big place. But having too many, having a Gwen and an Anya and anyone else, it becomes a bit tedious after a while, or like repetitive, or kind of boring. So I like it more when Spidey teams up with heroes who have different powers to his. Like, if that makes sense, that helps show different abilities working together.
Yeah. The other thing too is just that it would have made it more unique if it had actually spent more time focusing on them, just giving us more of them instead of just being like, oh, these people have spider powers. How? Get back to you on that. How does Cassandra Webb have her powers? Her mom. Should we make Cassandra Webb the main character? Yes. Why? We'll get back to you on that. Ezekiel
Knock knock.
Sims. He has. Oh no. Who's there?
My back.
My back who?
My back. You should get off of it.
Literally the writers of this movie, probably. But seriously, like, if you don't have answers for that, you like. It's kind of hypocritical. So I write every now and then, and I wrote something recently that's a short that I like that not going to get into and everything. Kind of going back on what Matt said about get off my back, because I get it. Writers can sometimes just they don't need to explain everything, because in this script I had a character. He was an old man. He had a heart attack and he died. And a guy read the script and he asked me, "Why did he die?" I said, "He had a heart attack." "Why?" "He was old." And that was all the explanation I was going to give. I was like, that's all I need to tell you. But for something like this, you do need to explain more. You do need to explain, like, at the very least, to make it interesting, to make sure it feel like we earned something. How did these people become spider people? Why does Ezekiel want to kill them? It leaves so many questions up in the air and refuses to answer them. And that's what makes it so annoying.
And also, where the hell is Jessica Drew?
Yeah.
Like, that's my favorite Spider Woman out there. Actually, she's tied with Gwen because Gwen's world is fun. She and Gwen are my favorites. But like, how about we make a movie about her instead? Like, I know she just appeared in the Across the Spider Verse and was very different there. I didn't mind her there. Uh, I I liked her. Some people were weird about her fighting while she was pregnant, and I'm like, I guess I can see that, but like, whatever. How about How about we make a movie about her instead? Like she's way more interesting than any of these characters here.
If they had done something where it was, Terminator, Back to the Future kind of stuff, they should have had her be the one who came to the past. Because she is technically, I think she's a very old comic book character, I think.
Jessica Drew.
I could be wrong.
I
I'm
think
probably
the
wrong.
first I think the first Spider Woman, the very first one was Julia, and she was created during the Secret Wars event, specifically so DC couldn't have their own Spider Person. Same vein for She-Hulk too.
She was introduced in 1977.
Okay, so
But
she came first.
yeah,
That makes
she's
sense.
noted as being one of Marvel's most popular female heroes.
She is.
Yeah. And they honestly should have just done something more with her because she would have been much more interesting to see.
And again, or maybe you could just make Julia the lead. Like I don't mind Julia. I like her.
Yeah.
But we like if she when she's done well, I like her. How about we just focus on one Spider Woman and not so many of them? That's what I'm saying.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, again, it just felt like there was more they could have done with this movie. And also the fight scenes were stupid and the ending made no sense because she literally Cassandra Webb falls into water and a firework hits her in the face. Oh yeah, Pepsi saves the day. Pepsi Cola
Literally.
saves the day in this movie. The other stupid thing was there's this big scene where like she drives an ambulance through a sign and it's going to like go right over Ezekiel and then he jumps into it. He literally jumps into it, so he gets hit for no reason. And then Pepsi saves the day. They literally have a final fight in a Pepsi Cola factory that's also a firework storage facility
Yeah,
for
what the
something.
hell? What is a Pepsi Cola Stein doing on a giant where fireworks place? Like, are they just next door to each other? I feel like that's
Product
not really
placement.
a safe idea.
Product placement. Don't worry about
Hey,
it.
about as subtle as the Power Rangers movie.
It really was, yeah. The fact that Power Rangers had Krispy Kreme be a part of a plot device.
Yes.
Um, but it just
Literally, it's not as bad as this. This feels like
no.
Adam Sandler levels of bad,
It
honestly.
just yeah, Pepsi like the whole throughout the whole movie, Cassandra has like a vision, or no, at one scene in the movie, she had a vision of like an S, a big giant S, and then the end of the film, she's on the Pepsi Cola sign and she sees the S and she's like, "That's it." And it's like this is so stupid. And then the giant P falls off and it crushes Ezekiel, and then that's the movie. And then she
And
falls
why
into
does
water.
and why does he even have this vision? That's not how he dies. It's literally what's the point of this? It's like not even like I know, like I said earlier, one often finds his destiny on the road to avoid it, but this literally isn't even that. His she
Yeah,
outright says, "Those girls were never your destiny. I was," and I'm like, okay, why doesn't he have a vision about you? What
yeah.
good are his psychic powers then? Why does he even have psychic powers? Why? Why does this work like this? Why is the biggest question that people can ask this entire film to ask. It's like why? Why?
I will say this: the end of the movie, they do show like the future scene of the three Spider Women and Cassandra. She is sort of like in an astral projection sort of form. So maybe she was always there or something like that, and she was mentoring them, and that's why she was like, "I was." But again, they don't explain it well enough. It just sort of ends with them in
That's
really weird costumes, and she says, "You know, the best thing about the future is it hasn't happened yet," which a buddy did. He's not. I had a buddy say that line actually isn't bad if it was in any other movie. I'm like, you're
and
actually not wrong.
it was in Back to the Future 3. This is literally just the same thing as Back to the Future 3. And
Yeah,
I got a better one for you. Yeah, you know the best thing about the future, you don't have one.
yeah.
There's never going to be another film like this because it bombed hard, just making
Oh
back
God.
the budget. The budget was between 80 and 100 million. It made 100.3 million.
Yeah, it
So,
just barely made back. I think it was a bigger box office slop. Yeah, I'll say flop
it's
than Morbius. I almost said
and
Carnage. I'm all over the place.
it was bigger than it was a bigger bomb than Carnage was too. And not to mention Morbius bombed twice. So that's an achievement right there.
Yeah,
And I like I want people now that it's on Netflix. I want people to watch this. This is one of those so bad it's good films. Like it's just so much to think about and talk about and just make fun of. I want people to riff this as much as they can and just roast this film to pieces because we already know There's not going to be another one like this. The mood at Sony's lot after this was really grim. That's how it was described. So I say, watch this as much as you want. Hate watch it. Roast it with your friends. MST3K it. Just freaking have a ball with this because this is one of those films to have a ball in. You
Yeah,
just keep laughing.
it's so bad, and it was supposed to be the start of a brand new franchise too. It was
When
literally the other thing too is like I don't get Dakota Johnson at all. I really don't. I don't understand. Like, I get it if she doesn't want to act. I get it if she knows that her movies aren't good. I get it if she doesn't want to read comics and stuff and like make a big deal because it's Madam Web. But she was basically like, I'm not surprised by the films. It's unlikely I will make another superhero, and it's
okay,
she
okay,
just
go back to what was she
she
doing before this? Honestly,
nothing. She just isn't. I don't know. I don't want to be like rude or anything. She does not seem. The only thing she did was 50 Shades of Grey, I think, or maybe I'm wrong. Oh, I might have just said the wrong thing. Shit. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Nope, she was in 50 Shades of Grey.
uh, I I saw like really weird trailers for this. Like she was like acting like some fake psychic and very blandly saying, "I know you'll see Man of Blade. You'll see it twice. I see it in the future." Or some stupid shit like that. And that's just like weird. Okay, no, like you know this film's going to bomb. So why are you acting like this is going to work? So
She was actually in a lot of movies. What the hell?
okay, I guess she did
She
have
was in
a
like
prolific
two
career.
movies or one movie, three movies. Okay, she was in two movies in 2020, one movie in 2021, three movies in 2022, two movies in 2023. One was a documentary, and then one in 2024, which was Madam Web, and then one coming out next year or whenever called The Materialists, which is that sounds boring. It's a romantic comedy involving a matchmaker, a wealthy man she just met, and her former lover, with Chris
Like,
Evans and Pedro Pascal. It
like,
kind of sounds like Challengers.
okay, go ahead, please. Feel free. You
she
have Captain
also
America and Mr. Fantastic in this. Go right ahead.
she also like came out and said something about The Office that like she didn't like that she was on the last episode or something.
Yeah, she was barely in it.
Yeah, and she like made a big fuss about it. I don't know. She seems a little, I don't know. I don't want to say anything rude. She just seems a little overrated, but or she I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know. I don't really think anyone's career is going to suffer. Everybody knows Sydney Sweeney is going to be fine because she has her whole career already. Also,
Yeah.
why did they cast these like why did they cast these actresses to portray minors? They all look like they're adults. Like
Well, I can tell
I
you
thought
why
we were
they
in a
cast Sydney Sweeney, but that's not going to be age appropriate. So,
like why are we doing this? I thought we were in a post Tom Holland Spidey world where we could get people in their 20s who actually look young, you know?
man, hold on. I think
Like Tom was like,
Sydney Sweeney's, she was born in 1990. She's 26. She's not, I don't think they were trying to make them look like teenagers. I think they were trying to make them look like young adults.
I don't know.
Isabel Merced is 22. Isabel Merced, I think, is the youngest. Celeste O'Connor was Maddie Franklin. She is 25. She's our age.
Okay.
So.
Hey, hit us up. Hey, hit us up. We're both single.
I don't
I'm
know about
kidding.
that.
I'm kidding.
Okay,
I'm gonna be respectful. I'm just kidding.
okay.
I'm just
um,
kidding. I'm being
yeah.
respectful.
But the biggest thing about this movie, the biggest letdown, is that we didn't get. He was in the Amazon rainforest with my mother researching spiders just before she died. Like,
Is
come
she
on, Sony, you dropped the ball.
you made the meme actually meme it already. You
You
made your meme
killed it.
bed lie in it.
Yeah, you should have kept that in. I mean, it was that was one of the worst. It was such a bad line, but it was so funny.
You made your meme bed, now lie in it. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like everybody is mocking the movie. I mean, John
Yeah.
Mulaney referenced it at the Oscars, and then
There's a comedian who uses a bird puppet for his act. He literally gave the description of the whole movie as a bit. Like his whole bit was just describing the movie.
I mean,
That
Sydney
should be
Sweeney
television.
mocked it, and Mike Flanagan, horror movie producer and filmmaker, who I love a lot of his stuff. He
Yep.
he referred it, or he referenced, he like referred it to. Nicole Kidman's promotional monologue for AMC theaters. But he criticized the ADR too, which was, I don't know why they did that. That was so bad.
It's like they took every bad lesson from Morbius and just amplified the post-credit scene to 1,000-fold throughout the entire film. This is the film people thought Morbius was going to be. Unedited, weird, cut in a lot of weird ways, weird dialogue, weird ADR. Overall, a very weird film. This is why I say this is the room of superhero films, because this is just bizarre, 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 bizarre.
Yeah. I'm looking something up right now because I'm curious. I think we pretty much touched on everything we want to. I just want to look at something. I'm looking to see why was he ADR'd.
I don't think they're going to give a reason for it, other than maybe they just didn't like his voice.
It's possible. It might be a bad audio. I don't know. It just, I was trying to find a reason, but I'm not finding one. Anyway, I think that literally covers everything we wanted to say, though, because the editing hurt. He teleported everywhere. People didn't feel fleshed out. The CGI pigeon was the best part of that. NSA, comic book character, computers.
Story was
thing,
bad. The editing is weird.
every
The characters aren't interesting. There's your whole review.
Yeah, well, every movie also has a point of forcing in a Hulk line somewhere. Because there
Mhm.
was there's a whole line where Matty Franklin goes, "You wouldn't like me when I'm hangry," or something like that. And it's kind of like what they did with Morbius, because there's a whole scene where Morbius goes, "I'm gonna get hungry, and you wouldn't like me when I'm hungry." And it's like, come on.
No, I think he said angry. Maybe I don't fucking
No,
know.
he
I'm
said
not gonna
hungry.
rewatch.
He said hungry.
Well, I'm not rewatching the movie to find
You don't
out.
have to
So
rewatch it. Just go into YouTube and look it up.
I remember I was at a convention when that movie came out, and I'm just walking through. He actually sent me a clip of that line, and I'm just like, cool. What comic book should I get out of it? This entire book. I was like, sorry, I can't be concerned with that stupid vampire, but I'm literally at a huge convention with like a million spider people and no Morbius is around in sight.
Yeah,
So I just want to buy some books.
he literally says, "I'm trying to get hungry. You wouldn't like me when I'm hungry." But that's beyond the point. Point is, this movie sucked, and hopefully
Yep.
Sony will finally learn from their lesson, and they might, because now we have a Spider-Man noir show on the way with Nicolas Cage, and we have Phil and Lord Miller taking over of a lot of Sony's Marvel characters and their properties, which could be good. We'll see.
Only you can prevent getting your ass kicked by Nicolas fucking Cage.
Yeah, that should hopefully be good. I'm hoping that he does a good job with that, but we shall see. But that's gonna about do it for today, I think. We're definitely gonna have something better next time. We can confirm
Thumbs down.
that we're giving big 2 thumbs down, but we can definitely confirm that next time we'll have something a little better. Hopefully.
Yeah, just a smidge.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. And we hope to see you guys next time.